30 people signed up for more than normal. So thanks for your patience. We're a little bit late this morning. So I'm going to be extra brief. So we can get these guys up here. You'll see the slides later. There's some events and jobs events. Otherwise, welcome. If it's your first time, we do this every month. Bring out a speaker from the government with Venus data. Personally, very interested in transportation, so you notice that's additionally the theme at a lot of our events. And that's it. Yeah, come on out, meet some folks. If you can't come in person, we do a live stream. And I'll turn it over to Ellie for some parking.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our presentation today that's on Inside LA's data-driven parking rates. My name is Rossmore. I'm a transportation planner with LADOT's Parking Meters Division. I've worked for LADOT now for 3 years. I went to UCLA where I attended the Masters of Urban Planning course alongside Donald Shoup, who's my professor. And that's what got me started in parking. I have two fellow co-presenters who are going to give their own introduction here also.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Ahlstrom. I'm the Senior Program Manager for the city's partner in the LA Express Park program and a variety of other programs related to transportation, for example, automated bustling enforcement. I fell into the parking world about 15 years ago. Once you're in, you can never get out. I was working for the MTA, San Francisco MTA at the time. Done a variety of things.
I was the parking enforcement manager for the city of Seattle at one point, a job I would never recommend to anyone. And then came back down to Southern California, and I'm currently with Trellent and working with these two great guys here.
And I'm Nia Trin, one of the senior analysts with Trellent. I've been with the company for around 7-8 years. So most of my lifetime was with Express Park for the most part.
Thank you both. Now getting right into it, what is demand-based parking? So this involves dynamic meter rates, which balance the supply with demand. So when the demand is high, there's increased rates. When demand is low, there's decreased rates. And what this does is reduce traffic congestion and greenhouse gas emission by reducing the time it takes a vehicle to circle for parking. And this also encourages alternate modes of transportation. The LA Express Park program launched in downtown Los Angeles in 2012 with the primary objective, as I noted, of reducing traffic congestion, minimizing the time spent searching for parking in order to increase availability of limited on-street parking spaces. Based on the success of the program in downtown, we then expanded the program to Westwood Village in 2015, Hollywood in 2018, and Venice in 2019. Peter?
So for most of you in here that are, I think you're interested in transportation and urban planning from what I heard earlier, I don't think this information is probably a surprise to you. So the goal with the program was to look at the areas that were the most congested. In other words, occupancy on certain blocks was over 90%. Those that had an average, which was what we desired in the program, and then those that were underutilized, so less than 70%. The pricing strategy, of course, I raise it in the congested areas, maintain it in those areas where it was hit that middle mark there, and then no price change in areas where we were looking for people to move to. As you can see in this particular graph here, what we were really looking for was to have cheaper parking available for folks within another block or two of the location that they wanted, that they were looking to be at. So again, trying to get people to move to those locations that were underutilized, but still within a reasonable walking distance of the location that they needed to be in.
So there's some metrics that we want to use for demand-based pricing. First one, when we first started out, we were doing what we call adaptive pricing, which is constantly changing the rates based on the demand, using occupancy data from the sensors within the past 2-3 hours. What we learned is that it's kind of inefficient that way because all the trends in occupancy are pretty much similar day after day for the weekdays and for the weekends. So what we did now is rather than doing multiple times a day, we try to do it periodically per quarter because occupancy, again, doesn't really change that much from what we've seen. And we noticed that the changes are based on a ladder, how we're going to go. So we don't increase it by $2, $3. It's actual one step up and one step down our pricing ladder in order for us to not totally shock the public into changing their behavior so much that we kind of get a hold of it, pretty much. So our pricing model is our left one. So I'm sorry, the right one. So usually, if you take average occupancy, you kind of look at just the average. You kind of penalize some of the earlier folks that parked there with some of the later folks parked there. So what we do is we kind of look at the ratio, the fraction of time that's over-occupied, overutilized, and the fraction of time that are underutilized. We subtract that, so the first third, if the fraction of time, fraction high is minus fraction low is above the first third, we increase it. If it's in the middle third, which is between 0.33 and negative 0.33, we keep it the same. And if it's lower than that, we lower the rates. That way, you want to make sure that the whole hour and every minute time period is accounted for, not just a whole hourly block, which could be easily manipulated by changes in parking behavior. And this one here, we are a summary of pretty much what we did for all 4 project areas: downtown LA, Westwood, Venice, and Hollywood. So the one on the left is the amount of segments, time segments that we raised prices, lower prices, and stayed the same. And as you can see, most of it either stayed the same or got lowered, depending on the area. And on the right-hand side is the little graph about parking durations. So this is pretty much before and after. How long was a car parked there in that spot overall? And as you can see, we saw a decrease in downtown LA, Venice, and Hollywood. What that means is that cars are staying there for a short amount of period, which means more cars are able to park there, which means higher turnover. That means more opportunities for you to find parking in the area and for businesses to have more patrons.
All right. So the main focus of all of this data collection is Trellant's merged database. And this is a database that we administer for the city. Much of it was built out for the city of Los Angeles 14 years ago. The merged database at the moment collects data from a variety of sources. So on the LA Express Park side, we have data from meters. There's a variety of single-space meters, multi-space meters that are out on the street that I'm sure all of you have seen. In addition to that, we have sensors. So we have a variety of partners at the moment that provide in-ground sensors. For example, a company by the name of Fiber. Every now and then you'll see their little pucks out in a parking space on the street, and it actually says the company's name on it. Those are feeding data into the merged database as well. In addition to that, we've got the parking enforcement team that we also partner with. That data from their handhelds as well is being fed into the merged database. The merged database also contains information regarding policies, so rates that are being set for the individual meters on the block faces. For example, those where we've had to increase the rates or lower the rates. All of that information is being fed into Merge, as well as outages that have occurred. That information is available to third-party providers. It's also pushed out into the public domain, so the city's open data portal. In addition to that, the enforcement team as well has access to that when they need assistance in addressing citation questions that have arisen. Thank you.
So I'm going to go over some initial findings from our pilot in 2011 for downtown LA, and I just want to remind everyone too that we're going to have questions and answers at the end because this is a lot to take in right now. So some of the initial findings here from our 2011 pilot just in downtown was that we saw the hourly rate was reduced in low demand areas, and this led to increased utilization of parking spaces. So rates lowered as low as 50 cents per hour in some areas, which then led to an increase in occupancy in underutilized areas because the rate was lower, more people could park and justify paying for it. But the occupancy was still below 70%, which is our goal is to be below sort of 85%. And down in 70 is a great place to be at, which leaves ample free spaces open on each block. we saw that revenue increased in downtown by 3%, though this can also show that it wasn't just a city money grab, as the small increase is nominal, and it's also likely due to significant adoption of credit card payments, because around the same time we introduced our smart parking meters that accepted credit cards. Before that, it was only coin. We also found that downtown LA has a consistent occupancy pattern, and as Nia touched on, initially we did adaptive pricing, which would update real time several times a day based on the true actual demand. But what we do now from this is more predictive and consistent. We do quarterly rate updates, and we use time of day meter rates, which are dynamic and fluctuate, for example, 3 times morning, afternoon, and evening during the week, and then some weekend hours to sort of adjust with true demand there. And I'll get into some examples of that right here. So here in downtown Los Angeles, this is as of May 5th, 2025. The weighted average from 8 in the morning till 11 in the morning went up by 16 cents. And there was also an increase of 6 cents from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., the afternoon time slot. And then between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., the evening time slot on weekdays, it will actually decrease by 3 cents. And the average rate on weekends will increase by about 7 cents. So this is available on our website too. We'll post the link at the end, but you can see the colors on each side, with this being Monday through Friday, 8 to 11, and then the one on the right, Monday through Friday, 11 to 3. And you can see the fluctuation of the rates there. And then, of course, in my home, Hollywood, where I live, on the weekends, the weighted average from 8 to 10 will decrease by 10 cents, and also decrease 9 cents from 10 to the end of enforcement hours, which for enforcement hours, Monday through Thursday is 8 p.m., and then Friday and Saturday it is until midnight. Sunday is also until 8 p.m. And then during the weekend, the average rate will decrease by 21 cents.
So currently what we have so far is all sensors for every single parking space within a block. Moving forward, that might not be cost effective if we could find a way to kind of reduce the amount of more sensors while having the same fidelity and correlation as full sensors. So here you see block on 1 Washington Boulevard in Venice. Originally we had 19 sensors, and what we did was we want to create an algorithm in which where can we strategically place sensors on a block, reduce the number of sensors, but yet have the same occupancy trends throughout the day in order to save money and pretty much utilize the sensors in a more efficient way throughout the city. So what we did was we selected 4 sensors on the same block, if you see here, on the bottom right-hand corner. And what you see here, the before and after, is the trends that we got from occupancy using an algorithm are pretty much very similar than fully sensors. So this is what we call lean demand pricing or algorithm. And we kind of want to use that to apply throughout the city in order to better utilize and understand occupancy in a more efficient way. But then, as I said, we have a pricing engine. Just because we have the algorithm to predict the demand, it doesn't really necessarily translate into the same recommendations as our pricing engine does. So what we did is we ran the pricing engine again using 4 sensors, half a sensors, and 122 sensors based on the strategic locations that we chose. And what we saw is that the recommendation from our pricing engine are pretty much very similar to fully sensors. It recommended pretty much the same amount of decreases and increases and stayed the same for the rate changes. We also work on using lean demand in Hollywood. So in East Hollywood, it's different from Venice because we had no sensors there originally. So in order to create an algorithm, we need to utilize more data that kind of gives us an understanding of how popular it is. So we use payment data, citation data, business data. If the parking is near our business, we're going to assume that it's going to be popular. And what we did is we selected the spaces, but we realized that let's install the sensors in these recommended spaces. And then once we do that, let's use the sensor data from, let's say, 20, 30, whatever it is. Use the data in order to fine-tune our algorithm, make it better using actual sensor data. So what this is we could now move into a location, create an algorithm that predicts the sensors using non-sensor data, install sensors at strategic locations in order to fine-tune it and apply the algorithm for rate changes in the future.
Okay, so some of our accomplishments and the success of the LA Express Park program. In 2014, we were awarded with, which is now California Mobility and Parking Association, CMPA, but back then CPPA, based on innovation and reduction in congestion. These are all the same studies here linked by the U.S. Department of Transportation, but they found in their independent study that there was a 37% reduction in cruising for parking, which reduces greenhouse gas emissions and traffic congestion. We found, or the US DOT found, that there was a 10% increase in parking availability. More open spaces, of course, leads to less circling for parking. And they found a 2.5% increase in revenue. This is across all of our 4 areas. This is not just downtown. So drivers end up paying less. As you see, the next point here, drivers pay 19 cents or 11% less on average for their parking session. So drivers are paying less and the city's increasing revenue due to turnover. So it's kind of a win-win situation for everyone, even people who don't have cars and don't drive and don't park, because less congestion is better for everyone, of course. And the success of this program has led to additional grants for future LA Express Park program expansions, including more work in Venice and the USC Expo Park area. And so again, just to reiterate, in our 4 project areas, downtown Los Angeles, Westwood, Hollywood, and Venice, we have seen overall a 10% increase in parking availability, lower parking prices across the city for drivers, 16% increase in meter revenue in some areas, but again, a 2.5 average when you consider all 4 areas, 10% reduction in congestion, and increased parking turnover. So ultimately, this program has been very successful, widely embraced, and we look forward to expanding it to more areas when the time comes. That being said, I have a few more exciting things to talk about that we're doing here at LADOT for parking. You can pay by parking with your phone. No longer do you have to carry a credit card or coins with you or keep a bunch in your cup holder in your car. You can pay by your phone. You're able to look, as you can see on the map here of Sherman Oaks, the red circles are occupied. Otherwise, those green meters you're able to park in. You can then pay for your session, and then you get notifications before your parking session expires to avoid tickets. You can also then extend your parking session by your phone when you get this notification, or at any time after making your initial payment, as long as you're still within the allotted time limits for the parking. And that being said, another exciting thing that we're launching citywide soon, and this is in a few areas, including around here in downtown, this is text to pay, where you don't have to download an app, you don't have to store any of your credit card information, you don't have to make an account, and you just simply text the number on the on the meter, as you can see here with the code, then follow the link to start your payment. This also gives you text message notifications when your session is about to expire, and you can also extend it, as you can see here, all to avoid a ticket. And your fancy Apple Watch, you can get notifications on that also, so you will make sure you don't get a ticket. That being said, again, my name is Graham Rossmore. I'm joined here with Peter and Nia, and we are the LA Express Park team. And we're open for questions now. Thank you so much.